what you got from this program over the past 6 weeks that we have met. We would like to hear from you what you got from the program, how it benefited you, and then how this program has helped you understand what is happening in the world about climate change and other things that you may have not been aware of without a program like this. Please mute yourself. Try and mute yourself, please. So we will now start with group one. I like to follow a chronology. So you'll start with group one. Group one from DePaul University. So who is speaking for group one from DePaul? Are the members of group one here? That is
Professor.
Impact on water.
Hi, Professor. Yes.
So Leslie, you are speaking for group one?
Yes, I am.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, class. So my group was group one, and we are the impact on water. So basically, this program has taught us a lot of the different stories and similarities and differences between us and Nigeria and other people from different parts of the country. So we all know that climate change is one of the biggest global issues we face as a society. And obviously, humans have contributed to the acceleration of global warming and the changes in Earth's climate. For example, like the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, natural gases up into the atmosphere. And so we notice for the similarities between the US and Nigeria are that they experience the impact of climate change on water availability and increasing temperatures and changing precipitation patterns and prolonged droughts and the scarcity effects in agriculture, the industry, and overall water security. And we also both similarly face the consequences of extreme weather events intensified by climate change. And these events, for example, they include like hurricanes, storms, floods, and heat waves, and the aftermath that come after that, the aftermath that happens because of those natural disasters. And they lead to like property damage and unfortunately loss of lives and displacement of communities. And basically, it impacts on the entire society and ecosystem. The differences we've also noticed are the lack of water or reference, the drying up of water of the resources in the United States. And we also noticed that the various effects in climate change, such as rising sea levels and temperatures, are, widely varying from implications of different locations and comparisons and everything. So we basically, this program helped us realize that, in some ways we are similar, and in lots of ways we are different, but in all we are, suffering this big change happening to our world. And although it's doing, different things to different parts of society in this world, it's still affecting us in a negative way. So the next steps that we talked about were, having those difficult discussions and creating spaces to reach out to audiences that, are least exposed to the climate change information, and, getting up to date with the current state of our world and doing the best we can to minimize, our carbon footprint, whether that's, eating less meat or animal projects, reducing food waste, obviously recycling. But, we were taught very young little by little what we can do to help our environment. But this program definitely opened our eyes as to why those little things help so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leslie. Yeah, that was very insightful. Can we now hear from Group 1 from the University of Calabar? Who is speaking for Group 1 from University of Calabar?
Hello. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone.
Joseph, your connection is really noisy. There's a lot of background noise.
Okay,
There's somebody else from Group 1 from the University of Calabar who has a more stable. Okay, can somebody else, Lovely, Lovely, I believe you are from Group 1 from the University of Calabar. Is there anybody else from Group 1 who has a stable system from the University of Calabar? Oh,
Okay. Good afternoon. Is it quite calm to this place? Hello, can you hear me?
okay, so we'll now move to Group 2. Group 2 from the University of Calabar. Then we will go to Group 2 from DePaul University. Then we will come back to Group 1 from the University of Calabar. Group 2 from the University of Calabar. Is somebody there? Is somebody there from Group 2 from the University of Calabar? Okay, let's go to Group 2 from DePaul University, please. Group 2 from DePaul University. From DePaul University, someone from group 2, please.
Sorry, I don't actually know the group number. Could you say which one the topic was for group 2?
The group 2 was impact on land resources. Impact on land resources, group 2.
I am group 2, impact on land resources.
Okay, go ahead. Are you speaking for your group?
We had picked someone, but I don't know if they're online today.
Okay.
I guess I'll go for them.
You are from DePaul University?
Yeah.
Okay, then you can go ahead for group 2.
Okay. Question I had from each video was, after we discussed the similarities of climate change within our respected communities, do you think we will continue to see the same impacts within our own lives, or do you think it will start to become a lot more personal within our environments? Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. I would say that we would continue to see the same impacts within our own lives, because even though Nigeria and the United States have like different environments, they're still like was in my eye. They're still pretty similar enough, because they're on like similar latitudes and stuff, that they will be affected by rising temperatures, especially Nigeria, because being closer to the tropics, its climate is very hot and humid, and it's just going to get even hotter as global temperatures rise. And the United States is also affected by rising sea levels, more specifically because there's a lot of land in the US that's below sea level, especially in the southeast. So if sea levels rise, it's basically say goodbye to Florida, which may or may not be a good thing depending on who you ask. Now, for the second question, one of the differences between the US and Nigeria's impacts from climate change is that I noticed that Nigeria is highly affected by deforestation, whereas the US seems to be more impacted by the rise of temperatures. And I kind of answered this a bit in the last question, but yeah, it is true. Because the United States having more land that's under sea level, we would lose maybe 30% of the land in the continental US, such as the southeastern tip of the United States, basically Florida, Georgia, Alabama, all or half those states would be underwater. San Francisco Bay would flood until the entire Sonoma Valley was flooded, and San Francisco itself would probably become an island. And then we lose major trading ports on the coast, such as New Orleans, San Diego, Los Angeles. That's basically one issue. And then Nigeria is home to some of the most rare and unique rainforests in all of the world. So with the loss of those rainforests, we would lose a major carbon sink environment. I'm sorry.
Please go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. With the loss of those rainforests, we would lose a major carbon sink environment. Carbon sink is basically an area of the world where carbon dioxide is absorbed into the earth via plant life, and then it's exchanged for oxygen. Largest carbon sink environments in the earth right now are the rainforests of South America and Africa. And since both those places are suffering from heavy deforestation, it's causing less and less carbon dioxide to be absorbed from the earth, and more oxygen is being, or less and less oxygen is being replenished. So as a result, the carbon dioxide balance is being completely thrown out of whack, and that's leading to rising global temperatures as a result. So yeah, that's basically the two questions that my group came up with, and yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, those are very important observations, points that your group was able to glean from the interviews. So group 1 from Nigeria or group 2 from Nigeria, is somebody ready now to present? Okay, group 3 from Nigeria, is somebody ready to present? Okay, group 3 from DePaul. Are you here? Please go ahead.
Is that for the agricultural group?
Yes, let me see. Group 3.
Yes.
Impact on agriculture, yes.
All right. For my group, what we took from the interviews was a lot of people talking about the future due to climate change, on the temperature shifting on the agriculture, how a lot of the interviews talked about how like winter now is starting to be warmer than usual, and so it's destroying the crop, the crop yield yearly due to the issue with the temperature, and how the unpredictable weather patterns have caused issues with how the crops are growing, and it's also affecting the animal life around the farms, causing animals to not have the food. We're not able to feed animals. We can't reproduce the animals, and we can also reproduce crops for humans. It's just causing issues all over the place like that. And then there's areas that had rainfall before, and now it's starting to become droughts and issues like that. And the sun is getting, like, it's starting to be more powerful, and it's less tolerable for the animals, the crops, the people, just overall, due to the changes in climate and the temperature on the earth. It's destroying how we do our crop production in the United States and in Nigeria and all over the world.
Patrick, are you still there?
Yeah,
Okay. Are you done?
I believe so. It's just like affecting our soil and our water situation overall, the issues of climate change.
Yes, that is, those are very great points. Very great observations of the similarities and differences from the interviews. And that is group 3 from DePaul University. So group 3 from the University of Calabar. Is anyone ready now to speak for the group? Group 1 from the University of Calabar. Is somebody there? Group 1 is impact on water from the University of Calabar. Is somebody there? Impact on land resources, group 2 from the University of Calabar. Is somebody there? Then group 3, impact on agriculture from the University of Calabar.
Group
Is somebody
3.
there? Yes?
Group 3 impact on agriculture.
Yes.
My name is Bernard Bassi. I'm from the University of Calabar. During the course of this global experience, I think our topic is more on agriculture. And as the previous speaker made points, the major challenge we are having here in Calabar is deforestation. And agricultural produce cannot grow well when the seasons are changing continuously. Normally we are used to how the season works. As a result of climate change, this has affected the environment seriously. So the similarities and difference in the United States and Calabar is there. The United States, like the previous speaker said, they are affected mostly by the heat wave, the weather. While we are affected by mostly deforestation. Our government is not really involved in situations here in Calabar, and most especially, crops that we expect to get don't usually come anymore as a result of all these global changes. And man continuously uses the resources we found carelessly. As a result of climate change, and these resources, they don't come back because we mismanage them. This global learning experience has given more insight on how to better manage the environment. I think during the course of our program on Monday, I asked a question. I think I asked you that particular question about deforestation, that trees are being cut down here in Calabar, trees are being cut down in the United States. And I asked, those trees that are being cut down in the United States, do they cut it legally? Is it right? And your answer to me was, the United States, they have a place where they plant trees, and those trees are just mainly for to be cut down. While here in Nigeria, here in Calabar, people just cut down these trees carelessly without even thinking of how it will affect the future. I know the more trees that are being cut down, the more agricultural produce are affected, the more there is change in climate, there's change in temperature, there's change in weather. So far, so good. The government are not even making any necessary steps to manage these situations. They are not making any steps to manage these situations. They just keep doing what will benefit them. And during the course of this program, we've seen people's stories. We've seen how climate change has affected them psychologically. It has affected them emotionally. And during the course of the interview, one of the videos I watched, a lady was saying how a neighbor they lost their property because of rain. Even a child died. And all this is as a result of climate change. And I believe if the world, or if the whole world don't come together to find a reasonable solutions to this action, we will keep exploiting our environment. We'll keep exploiting everything around us. We'll keep using resources carelessly. And if all these things are not put into consideration, the environment will keep on bleeding. So the experience so far in this global learning experience is an eye opener for a lot of us. And I believe if we create more awareness, if we create more education to the younger generation growing, it will help open a silver lining, and it will help for the younger ones to know that the environment is as important to them as they are important to the environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very, very insightful. So we appreciate for that presentation. So impact on water from the University of Calabar, Group 1. Is somebody there now to speak for Group 1? Then Group 2 from Nigeria, from Calabar. Impact on land resources. Is somebody there? Okay, so let's move now to Group 4. Impact on energy from DePaul University. Impact on energy, Group 4.
Hi, Professor.
Yes, Logan.
I'll be speaking for our group partly, and then Kevin will hop in too.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so the first key similarity that we noticed between the two schools, like the DePaul group here in Chicago and in Nigeria and Calabar, is that both countries, for their energy consumption, primarily use non-renewable energies, such as like fossil fuels, coal, natural gas, and all of these heavily contribute to the emission of greenhouse gases to the atmosphere. They trap heat, which leads to global warming and climate change. And while in Nigeria, the energy consumption is lower than in America, so they contribute less emissions overall. The world as a whole needs to start moving towards more renewable resources in order for climate change and its effects to be lessened, so we can help stem climate change, nip it in the bud. And so next is some differences, and the difference that I noticed was that the Chicago climate is a lot different than the Nigerian climate. So climate change affects those two weathered a lot differently. And next, another similarity that I saw is how waste production is really similar in both areas. In one of the videos I watched, for the Nigeria group for Impact on Energy as well, they had a video where there was just a lot of trash in the street, and this was due to just not very much help from the government when it comes to waste management production, and that's something we often hear in DePaul as well. A lot of waste and garbage.
I need bread now.
Please mute yourself.
Why am I shopping going on?
Yeah, that's basically my portion. Now Kevin can hop in.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about some alternatives to the pretty destructive practices that non-renewable energy creation has been enacting. Obviously, solar energy is a great alternative to this, but in addition, wind is the largest source of renewable energy, at least in the United States. And finding ways to increase like the amount of wind energy that we're creating is really important to try and like alleviate some of the damage that we're already doing to the climate. In addition, like Logan talked about how much like waste is being produced and how it's being handled, using perhaps even like the biomass from that could be like useful. So burning like biomass from like garbage landfills can also help to generate energy. Since it's going to be done anyways, you might as well generate energy from that. And then obviously like hydroelectric power from like dams or like from turbines, stuff like that is also super key. So like there are already these systems that exist. It's just lobbying to get like the political like system to enact them on a scale that would help to improve the climate.
Thank you, Kevin. So let's move now back to Group 4 from the University of Calabar. Is somebody there to speak for Group 4?
Yeah, I'm here. I would speak for Group 4.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Prof. My name is Imo Chena. I'm from the University of Calabar, and I'll be presenting Group 4, the Nigerian team for the GLE on the impact of energy. So the global learning experience has been a good one. So just like my colleagues from DePaul University has stated, I would start with the similarities and the impact of energy before I move to the differences. So on the similarities, we realized that both Nigeria and the US are both high energy consuming countries, considering the magnitude, the population size. And for this, we know that the two countries are high energy users. And then they are also plagued by similar challenges from, similar challenges from climate change. And then typical of them is the disruption of energy supply. So from one of the stories in Nigeria, we noticed how some of the climate change effects like flooding has affected mining activities. And just like my colleague from DePaul University talked about, at this point, both Nigeria and the US, to a very good extent, still make use of non-renewable energy sources. And then for Nigeria, we have climate change issues like flooding affecting mining activities. And then some of these natural disasters happening also affect the food energy system. We also talked about, we also highlighted interruptions to electricity transmission. So one of the recent issues that happened in Nigeria was the issue around flooding, and the flooding affecting some of the dams generating electricity. And this particular problem alone led to a decrease in the supply of electricity over time in Nigeria between the last quarter of last year and the early quarters of this year, the first quarter exactly of this year. And then looking at some of the reports we got from our colleagues in the US, I know of the interview with Daniel Solis that highlighted that the temperature is getting warmer in the US. And I could actually relate to some of the effects of this, because when there's warmth and increased precipitation, it will lead to declining snowpacks. And then all of these declining snowpacks could lead to having it affects water supplies for energy sources, just like refining of fuel, burning of fossil fuel, and all of that. Water is needed. And when the temperature becomes warmer and we're having declining snowpacks, there are existing effects around this. Based on temperature, it also affects, for the Nigerian part, it affects agriculture. And there's always that link between agriculture and energy sources, right? So with issues of increasing temperature leads to droughts. Aside from the difficulties experienced in mining activities, decreased quantities of mineral resources that are extracted from the soil, we also have the effects on agriculture and as it relates to production of energy, maybe around biofuels, for instance. Also on the similarities, we looked at how the increased demand in energy is resulting to the emission of more pollutants. Because, for instance, in Nigeria, when we experienced the short supply of electricity, many people had to turn to alternatives, the burning of petrols for generators, machines that generate electricity, and this led to increased level of noise pollution and air pollution. And I think this is also similar in the US, where some of these extreme weather conditions could affect electricity supply, and lots of other renewable sources are explored, which are kind of harmful to the environment to generate these energy sources. So now moving down to the differences, I think the difference here is that for Nigeria, the effect of climate change is leading to a reduced production capacity of energy sources that are exported. So over time, we've experienced decrease in the quantity of mineral resources that are exported out of Nigeria, and including petroleum. And this affects the economy. So the hustles around energy points out to economic livelihood of the people living in Nigeria. And this is almost like a contrast in the US, where although they face some of these challenges, but then the people have to turn to increased demand and then exploring other alternatives. They are both harmful, but in different ways. Nigeria is affected in the economic area. US may not be so affected in the economic area because they have to explore the options other than Nigeria here, where other alternatives are barely raised or explored. So when it goes down, but for the US, people sought for, the government and the community sought for alternative energy sources, and this way. So walking around, I got some report around hotter summer temperatures while in Nigeria, although we have increased temperature, but we're also having issues with flooding. And this is like the opposite of one another, but they also lead to similar issues. I think these are like major differences I have noted, but the similarities are more based on the impact of climate change on energy. Thank you.
Well, that is a great presentation. Thank you so much. So, Uchenna, so that was wonderful. So we now circle back to group 1 from the University of Calabar, or group 2 from the University of Calabar. So if someone is ready, please let us know, and then we'll give you an opportunity to also present. Otherwise, we'll move now to group 5 from DePaul University.
Hi, that would be me.
Okay.
Okay. So we're group 5, which is like city planning, the environment.
Mercy, can you wait? Can you wait, Mercy? Can you wait, Mercy? Mercy, can you wait?
University of
someone is presenting already, Mercy. Can you wait? Okay, Fruchi, continue, please.
Okay.
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 Okay, so our group focuses on the environment and city planning and urban planning. I think, I mean, we've established pretty well the climate issue so far, but, you know, I think what we want to focus on is, you know, addressing the issue of climate change and how it requires like a comprehensive approach that kind of encompasses not only transitioning to clean energy sources, but also implementing policies and practices to reduce energy consumption and also increase energy efficiency and just promote sustainable development. But moving to the similarities we found between Chicago and Calabar students and their interviews, it seemed that there were a lot of feelings that the government is not doing enough to help citizens in regard to climate change. You know, I've even heard Calabar students who presented today talking about how you know, there's a lot of deforestation going on there, and the government's not really doing much and is kind of just doing what's best for them. And I think a lot of students from Chicago think the same thing about other elements of climate change, particularly like policies that can help, you know, improve climate change. There were a lot of calls to between both CalWAR students and DePaul students to plant more trees to reduce carbon, reduce heat, provide shade, and also calls to spread awareness and further educate those who may have not had good access to like comprehensive education on climate change. And then there were also a lot of calls between two universities to create more protections for existing areas like forest preserves, farming land, and public gardens. And others have touched on this, but both countries do consume a lot of non-renewable energy, which isn't great, but I think there are definitely things that can be put in place to improve that. Differences are Chicagoans definitely had a big focus on wanting more improvements in public transportation and lowering car reliance because the US is such a car reliant country. Chicagoans also seem to focus a lot on
Go ahead.
To focus a lot on like concerns about having children and what their like individual futures would be like. I'm sure all of our students have those concerns as well, but it was highlighted a lot in those of us from Chicago, our interviews. But yeah, it seemed like there was a lot of focus in Chicago about like kind of city planning issues and just this fast urbanization. And, you know, I think Chicagoans would like to see cars that help lower, you know, greenhouse gas levels, you know, electric cars, things like that. Ways to respond to climate change, you know, in the US, I think it's opting for sustainable travel alternatives, like I said, because we're so car centric, choosing diet options like plant-based and supporting local and organic and sustainably produced food, reducing water, reducing waste through reusable products like water bottles and grocery bags, and contacting our elected officials to push for climate action and sustainable legislation and policies. Our country's consumer culture, we can also really be mindful of our purchasing behavior and support sustainable businesses and products. For example, like Patagonia is a great company that really gives a lot back to the environment. In Calabar, based on interviews, it seems like calls are really for planting more trees to help offset carbon emissions and offset the deforestation. But it can also provide shades to cool down a little bit more. To cool down a little bit more. Someone also mentioned that government officials don't seem interested, like I said before. So I think electing new representatives or calling current representatives to, you know, really place a lot of importance on the issue might be a good strategy in Calabar. I think globally, just movement to renewable energy sources, water conservation, education, and raising awareness, reducing our individual carbon footprints is really important, and habitat restoration as well. For our generation, we think it's really important to put pressure on the government to pass policies that protect the environment, you know, push for renewable energy, walkable cities, and accessible public transportation, which reduces car reliance, investing time and resources into doing what we can on a local level to mitigate climate change. So examples are community gardens, shopping local, buying sustainable products, no fast fashion, lowering waste production, carbon footprint. One thing that I had thought of is like recycling is so important, but it goes beyond simply having just a recycling bin. So for example, like in my neighborhood and many others, they have like a virtual buy and sell groups like on Facebook or whatever. And people give away or sell for a cheap price furniture, kitchen items, clothing, etc. And so it's getting another use rather than, consuming more and more and things going to the landfill. And yeah, I mean, I think there's so much that needs to be done by people in power in the government, because especially like in the US, it's such a capitalist country. There's a lot of consumerism and a lot of companies that aren't necessarily making the choices that are best for the environment. And so, that's tough and we have to push for that, but we can also do a lot ourselves, like some of the examples I've mentioned. And, yeah, I'm not really good at closing these things out, but that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
From group 5. So group 5 from the University of Calabar. Is there somebody? Group 5 from the University of Calabar, is there somebody? And then Mercy James.
Yes, sir.
So what group are you in?
Group 2.
From the University of Calabar?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do you want to go ahead, please?
Yes. I want to go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. My name is James Mercy from University of Calabar. From Group 2, impacts on the land resources. Climate change has really affected land resources in both countries in terms of the geographical and the socioeconomic conditions. So talking about the similarities, one of the similarities I observe is increased temperature. Both the USA and Nigeria are experiencing rising temperatures, and as a result of climate change, higher temperatures can lead to increased evaporation. It can also reduce the soil moisture and enhance water stress, thereby affecting agricultural productivity and land quality in both countries. So these temperatures, like the one I read from Jacquard from the group, he said up till December, changes in snowdrop hasn't take place for about 20 years or thereabout. So this has really affected both countries. Even in Nigeria over here, we now have a change of weather. The dry season no longer comes when due, and the same happens also to the rainy season. So another thing I also observe is changes in precipitation. Changes in precipitation patterns also alters it causes chemical shifts in terms of rainfall distribution, like I said earlier. So like in the USA and in Nigeria, we are both witnessing changes in precipitation, including more frequent and intense rainfall. So like over there, you could talk about the snowdrop as extended period of drought. So these changes can also result in soil erosion, reduce crop yields, and even increase the vulnerability of to floods in both countries. And then also loss of biodiversity. In terms of this loss of biodiversity, rising temperatures can also change in the precipitation pattern. So it can disrupt the ecosystem, the impact our wildlife and habitats. It also contributes to species of loss in terms of animals and or thereabouts. So then talking about the differences, in terms of the differences, I'll talk about the geographical diversity. I think the USA has a diverse range of geographical features and ecosystems, like including their forests, grasslands, deserts, and coastal regions, like what I've seen. So I think that climate change impacts vary across these regions. Like example, if I should talk about the sea level, I think in the sea level and the increased hurricane intensity, like some spoke specific threats to coastal areas, and this might prolong drought, also affect agricultural productivity in arid regions. Then in terms of Nigeria, like for Nigeria over here, you know, Nigeria has predominantly tropical climates, which with diverse ecosystem like rainforest, savanna, and coastal mangroves. So climate change really impacts also in Nigeria, more focused on changes in rainfall patterns, the desertification and the loss of biodiversity within these ecosystems. You know, our raining season has really changed. Before now, we are supposed to be experiencing a high rainfall, but up till now, it's just, should I say, it's just this afternoon, rain is just about dropping, whereas before this time, since April, we would have been experiencing a high rainfall by now. And another thing also, the socioeconomic factor. You know, USA differs from Nigeria, particularly in terms of socioeconomical conditions. So USA has a greater financial and technological resources to migrate and adapt to climate change impacts. You know, they have the capacity to invest in infrastructure, implement resilience, agricultural practices, and even provide disaster response and recovery measures. But in terms of Nigeria is still a developing country, and then we face greater challenges in terms of limited resources, inadequate infrastructure, and less adaptive capacity. So climate change impacts such as reduced agricultural productivity here and increased food insecurity, and have a more severe effect on livelihoods and socioeconomic stability. Like I can recall one of the video I talked about the flood affecting our food crops. Farmers, fishermen no longer, and as in they aren't able to get fish any longer. The farm produce no longer yield the way it's supposed to yield because of flood, due to the high rate of flood, which has really affected the agricultural produce and even loss of properties and livelihoods, humans. So this has really affected, this has really caused a great change in the Nigeria economy. And also in terms of land use and the agriculture, like I said, in terms of land use, Nigeria also differs from the US practices. Like in the US, the large-scale commercial farming is prevalent with advanced technologies and irrigation system. So climate change impacts on agriculture is significant, affecting their crop yields, with their water availability and even soil quality. Whereas in Nigeria, we have small-scale subsistence farming, and it's really widespread. So I think it also make it particularly vulnerable to climate change. So changes in rainfall patterns and increased temperatures can directly impact food production and then exacerbate existing changes. This is my little observation so far, and then from the stories I have gone through, what I could come up with. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mercy. That was a great presentation. Thank you. Group 1 from the University of Calabar, are you here? Group 5 from the University of Calabar, are you here? Group 5?
I have tried to reach them. I've tried to reach Ubong and the rest. I think network is still giving them up. Let's wait a little, maybe they'll come up.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Offiong. So we move to Group 6 from DePaul University, Group 6.
Hi, Professor. I'll present for Group 6.
Okay, go ahead, Miranda.
Thank you. So first I'll start with similarities that we noticed. And I think the greatest similarity between the US and Nigerian stories is that climate change is causing inconsistency in known weather patterns, including extreme weather patterns. And for our group, we're the conservation group, this is an issue because when there are extreme weather events, people have to consume more. For example, the winter storms in Texas, where the homes don't have insulation to handle those winter storms. Now the homes are burning even more emissions, trying to heat the homes, or even in areas that flood, having to use resources to rebuild all of the homes, schools, etc. So we're in a place where we don't really have excess resources to use to rebuild, and yet our consumption is making us have to use even more resources because of the consequences of climate change. In addition, both countries deal with deforestation. I know that a lot of groups have pointed out that it's a worse issue in Nigeria, but I think it's important to point out that we're dealing with the issue of deforestation in the United States too, because developers are able to buy wooded land as long as it's designated as commercial land, and they'll clear the trees there, especially in places like growing suburbs of America. Entire towns will lose their forest for housing developments. And another example of this in the United States is in the Appalachian region, where there's a lot of coal mineral resources. Coal mining companies are able to strip the tops of the mountains, including all of the forests. And this causes extreme flooding everywhere where this deforestation is happening. And for the sake of conservation as well, the United States and Nigeria have begun to take steps to protect the natural environment, like someone in the last class mentioned. The fact that natural forest areas and preserves, national parks as well, can't be cut down. And also in November of 2021, Nigeria passed the Climate Change Act that seeks to achieve low greenhouse gas emissions. And last year in 2022, the United States also had the infrastructure bill, which was the biggest climate change bill in US history. So there are some steps being taken, but I think in both countries, we can agree that it's not enough yet. And then for the differences in the United States, I think that the biggest way that people understand climate change is through the extreme weather events, whereas in Nigeria, it's directly impacting the quality of life, especially in instances of drought where people just can't get food anymore because of climate change in certain times of the year. Whereas in the United States, we're lucky enough that it hasn't affected the quality of life so much yet, but it certainly will in the future if action isn't taken. Also, another thing is that Chicago as an urban environment has different needs than Calabar, being more forested, where like another group said, we can be investing in public transportation, clean energies, solutions. And I think in Nigeria, conservation of the environment is definitely a more pressing matter, because for the most part, the urban habitat islands in Chicago just have less natural species in them, although those should be preserved as well. So thank you for listening. That was what our group came up with.
Thank you, Miranda. That was a great presentation. It has been going great so far. But we'll circle back to group one from the University of Calabar. If somebody's there, please let us know. And then group five from the University of Calabar. Is somebody there, group five? Okay, group six from the University of Calabar. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Professor. My name is Olive, presenting group 6, and we're talking on conservation. Basically, what I noticed about conservation is that in Nigeria we have we have
Hold on.
issues. Am I being heard? Hello.
Yes, we are here. Olive, we are listening to you.
Okay. So we're talking about conservation. And first of all, I would like to start saying that in Nigeria, the federal government policy goal on biological diversity taken into consideration on the Convention on Biological Diversity of its vital resources. And we have difficulty with conservation because land degradation remains the greatest problems in Nigeria, and we witness high levels of water and air pollution, while efforts to reduce the rate of natural resources depletion and desertification are yet to yield significant results. So moreover, the issue in Nigeria is still like a major hindrance to sustainable development and creating, should I say, kind of like an awareness for trying to curb climate change crisis. So apart from the national environmental problems, Nigeria has to contend with global environmental problems such as ozone layer depletion, global warming, and consequent climate change. And the toxic waste dump problem is still prevalent in spite of the relevant provision of any kind of, should I say, support to yield positive impact on this. So first, next, I would like to talk about the unprecedented increase in population and rapid rate of urbanization, which have brought about significant settlement problems and housing problems, overcrowding, traffic congestion, environmental degradation, inadequate infrastructure and services. And recognizing these problems, the government has not only featured in its national ruling plan. So the national housing policy and also the strategies for implementing a number of programs aimed at promoting sustainable human settlement development. So realizing that climate is slowly and steadily varying due to human activities, systematic monitoring has since been ensured by government through relevant agencies and departments in order to determine in quantitative terms the rate of variations, and such information becomes important for early warnings against national, or should I say natural disasters of like flooding, erosion, and drought, amongst others. So also several greenhouse gases are under surveillance for the purpose of determining the other issues we have, and also the atmospheric pollution also in the country. So government has also evolved through relevant agencies and sound planning and management of land resources in the country. And various programs, including soil survey, land evaluation, fertilizer testing, fertility management, and soil conservation are being pursued with adequate consideration to their environmental implications. And one major source of concern to federal government of Nigeria is the persistent decline of national forests at an alarming rate of about, should I say, according to my research, is about 3.5% per annum. And efforts towards sustainable forest management are made through the development of appropriate strategies and an action plan, as well as afforestation programs and a forest inventory, as well as extension and advisory services. So I'll move on to the similarities and differences between climate change experience between the two countries. I noticed that there's temperatures are becoming warmer and hotter in our case, because we are, like my colleague said, we are in the tropical region, and our temperatures tend to be worse in Nigeria here. So there's also risk to biodiversity and food insecurity because of the change in weather patterns that is affecting agriculture and land degradation. So the differences that I noticed are development and adaptation between the two countries. I'd like to say that over there in the US, it is, should I say, easier to be able to make arrangements to help in the issue of climate change, because there is more advanced technology and awareness. And over here, people are actually aware. I won't really say that they're like, should I say, they don't know about it, but people actually don't really have much faith over here in the whole climate change situation. They feel like nothing, should I say, nothing to, or little or not much can be done about it over here. So there is low commitment to mitigating climate change over here. And also, I talked about the weather pattern, which is a huge difference, because still, even when the weather is changing over there and the climate is becoming warmer, over here it's much worse. And that's the differences I could take note of. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation, Olive. So we will now move to Group 1. Let's move back to Group 1 from the University of Calabar. Is somebody there? Group 5 from the University of Calabar. Is somebody there? Okay, so at this point, I would like, if you have any questions, anybody can raise a hand to speak now. If you have any questions, if you have any comments that you would like to briefly share, please raise a hand and share. Then after that, Dr. Offiong, the professor from the University of Calabar, can would like to say a few words to the group. It has been a wonderful experience for those of us here, and then I believe for our friends at Calabar. Yes, Emanuela, go ahead.
Okay. Process of the conversation. Also, I would like to pick from the
Emanuela, we can't hear you. Okay, Emanuela, we go ahead, Emanuela.
okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, your system is breaking, sort of.
So mine is more a contribution.
Yes.
Where I'm saying, okay, so I was saying I wasn't there, although I wasn't there when my group representative was, so that's group 3, which has the topic on agriculture. I would just like to add that the intensity of the sun getting, so I really believe the cutting down of the trees also has a responsibility in increasing the intensity of the sun by releasing the carbon from this of this tree. Trees actually absorbs carbon. Releasing this carbon to the atmosphere from these trees, the greenhouse effect, and also helps or contributes in the increase in the intensity of the sun. So that's what I would like to contribute.
Thank you, Manuela. Joseph, go ahead.
Okay. Good evening. I am speaking for group 1. I'm sorry we weren't available at first to speak up. My network was bad and where I was quite noisy, so I had to move to a place that's more quiet to speak.
So you are
Actually,
speaking for group 1 now?
yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So actually, group 1, we all had, we were all grouping into a team named the impact on water. So I will start by explaining or describing the impact on water which climate change has caused around us here in Nigeria. Recently, I'll use from last year, we recorded an increase in flooding in Kogi State, which was due to the fact that the Cameroon had to, I think, open their canals, and then the water inflow was so high that it had to flood a lot of houses and cause high rate of death or mortality in Nigeria around Kogi State down to, I also think in Bayelsa it happened. So I would say all this could be tied down to or just down to the impact of climate change on water, because the rising sea level would cause the country to want to open a canal for outflow of water in order for them not to have overflooding in their own country. And Nigeria didn't think of, or many people claim, or many people accuse the government that they didn't create a system that would also channel the water from where the canal was to other places, so that it would reduce the impact on property and life. But that happened. Also, recently, the climate change, deforestation has caused a lot of reduction in terms of watershed management, because the areas where forests do cover for availability of water, which rural dwellers could use for basic amenities, due to deforestation has become dry, and many people suffer high reduction or a lot of many people suffer thirst and reduced water quality because of the fact that the clean water that was available to them due to the trees that were around that to purify the water system that flows in their community was no more. So there was a great reduction in watershed management. Also, the similarities and differences that I could see or that I noticed among the group one in Nigeria and the group one in the Pulse is that we both had a significant difference in the increase and decrease in temperature. In Nigeria, there was a significant difference in increase in temperature because over the years, the temperature has increased in such a way that many people cannot feel comfortable staying in their homes without light. Let me use that artificial form of generating a stable atmosphere for themselves in their homes. Because if a poor man or a normal human being cannot stay in his home without electricity and say he's comfortable, because the rate at which the temperature is rising is unbearable. Also, for the students from the poor, they also say that the rate at which the temperature has dropped is very significant. Most people state, like I saw a video from Lizzie Perez where she interviewed a guy and he said he stayed both in Houston and also in Chicago, and he said the temperature drop from in Houston was the first ever for about a number of years, and that is very, very appalling to hear, knowing that climate change has affected both countries, or yes, both countries and both continents in a very significant way. Also, I want to talk about the role human play in human action has played in climate change. A lot of anthropogenic activities has caused climate change. Anthropogenic activities such as clearing of land for urbanization or maybe say new road creation, it has caused a lot of impact. There is no standard environmental impact assessment carried out on what would happen if this project is being done. So those activities have influenced climate change in a great way. Also, the difficulties I noticed in identifying a person to interview was that most people were camera shy. Some of them were like, that they can't speak to the camera, although they may have had something to say, but at the point in time, they were like, they couldn't speak in front of the camera. Even after you plead, you don't have to force them. After you plead and plead and plead, they will be like, so you have to go out looking for some other person to interview. And the person I could get to interview, the stories I got was also related to my own personal climate story, which was so I could find a relation, I could find an emotional connection with what she was saying, because my climate story, she explained how the temperature rising has caused a lot of problems for a lot of people, and most people are suffering from sunburn, various other solar radiated related sicknesses. So it was quite a nice or emotional experience I could get with someone I interviewed. And I would also want to answer the role I would see myself playing in mitigating climate change. I, as a graduate from the Department of Forestry and Wildlife, I think I would use my position or my discipline, my academic discipline, to create an awareness and encourage afforestation, and also encourage proper environmental planning in terms of how do you take care of the environment, removing litters. Most plastic waste, as we celebrated the World Environmental Day on the 6th of June, a lot of plastic waste, we worked as advocates trying to pick up plastic waste from the roadside, from the waste bins and gutter waste, in order not to allow them to block the gutters or flood into people's houses. So we had to try our best in removing plastic because they don't decompose easily. So, and there was a channel where we could turn those plastics in for maybe sales or for other uses or other uses. So it's actually a good contribution I have made, or I am making, as part of mitigating climate change. So Thank you very much. I also want to add one of my favorite memories from the global experience is that I would say it was nice meeting with you, Professor, and the Dr. Margaret Walkman. It was a nice experience seeing you people and seeing the interest you had in trying to see how it could communicate and bring the awareness of climate change. Though it's starting from a small group, which is just the class, but it has reached out to a lot of people because most times you could walk up to someone and say, what can you say about climate change and the rest of it. So those memorable experiences, and also meeting with colleagues or classmates or friends from the polls was also a nice experience because it has expanded our horizon on what perspective we get about climate change in both countries. So those are nice experiences. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Joseph. That was wonderful. Did somebody come from Group 5 from University of Calabar? Group 5. Okay. I want to thank Dr. Margaret Walkman, who is a member of this project from environmental science at DePaul University. She has been really instrumental to making this work as well as it has worked. So I want to invite the professor from the University of Calabar, Dr. Raphael Ofiong, to say a few words to the group.
Yes, thank you, Isidore and Maggie. Thank you, great students from DePaul and University of Calabar. I just want to say that I'm very, very happy. I'm very grateful, especially with the participation level, in spite of our challenges over here, as it has to do with our network issues that bother us on data, our recent economic realities and challenges that is really, really biting and is affecting all facets of the Nigerian economy. But our students have still done their best. I want to commend all the groups for their effort, and also want to commend their efforts to at least those ones here in Nigeria that we witnessed what they were doing. I was following them up, quietly trying to see how independent they can be in terms of carrying out research. And they did so well, interacting with a whole lot of people, facing the challenges, overcoming the challenges and all of that. And also from the experiences from that we've been able to gather and share from our students from DePaul University, that's the participants, I say bravo to you all. It's quite intriguing, it's quite okay. We've all learned from each other, especially with our, changes or differences in time zone. We still try to see how these things work. So climate change business have come to stay, and I believe that that come July, when we'll be doing a film festival and the wrapping up of this program is going to be awesome. And the Vice Chancellor, I was with her day before yesterday, and we spoke at length. Is quite ready and willing to receive us. And I also know with the work she has done so far, I must commend you too, Emma. I believe you're hearing me. I must commend you too for your effort, at least working with the students, seeing what they are doing, helping them in most cases to upload their videos, and at least being part of this team and working with me very, very well. Although there's no system without us having one or two challenges, but I want to say a very big thank you to you. And I also want to believe that as we're moving on, we'll be doing better and we'll work better as we keep knowing and understanding ourselves. But on the whole, thank you, Isidore. Thank you, Maggie, for choosing University of Calabar. And also, I would like to thank the Vice Chancellor too, because she keeps wanting to know what we're really doing, how we're progressing. I say we are doing well. And given that, I think if I was asked to score, I'll score all of you far and above 70%. So it's a good one, it's a good outing, it's a good experience, good exposure. We believe that we keep this up and then plow it back into the society and the system as we keep growing and moving from one place to the other. Then to DePaul University, I want to say a very big thank you too for giving us this platform, this opportunity to expose our students to have a cross-breeding process that we believe that the nearest future will go a long way to bring a better days, especially as we also look forward to having students from DePaul visiting University of Calabar too, just like we are thinking on how students too can visit Chicago to visit DePaul. So thank you, and thank you all of you. Keep it up, keep the energy going, and keep working very, very hard. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Offiong, for those words. Dr. Offiong has done a lot of work around climate change in Nigeria and then around deforestation. So we wish him all the best with the good work he's done as he continues to inspire his students and the Nigerian community to continue to work to improve conditions in that country. So I want to call on one student from DePaul University to say something. Miranda, can you add a few concluding words, Miranda?
Hi, yeah. I'd like to also thank everyone. This has been a really amazing experience. Especially like my group 6, we had some really interesting conversations and I really appreciate that. And just having the chance to learn about your lives in Calabar has been something that I'll remember forever. And I'm really glad that I took this course. So yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you. From University of Calabar, somebody to speak, to say a few words. One of the students, is Uchenna there? Still there, Uchenna?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, can you say a few concluding words?
Okay, thank you, Prof. I really want to thank everyone that's been part of this experience, from DePaul University, the organizers, down to the management of the University of Calabar and participating students. On behalf of the students of the University of Calabar, I want to express our gratitude for the opportunity, and we look forward to more of us engagements. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Walkman, do you want to say a few words? Dr. Walkman, are you there?
I'm here. I'm here. I was just answering a question in the chat.
Okay.
I just want to thank everybody for participating, especially the students at University of Calabar. I know it's difficult with the network issues and the data. I really enjoyed listening to all of your analysis of the videos, and I appreciate you taking the effort, all of the students. I appreciate you taking the effort to do the interviews. I think they were very impactful. So thank you. And thanks for Dr. Raphael, and I'm not sure if Dr. Pauline's on here. Thank you to her too. She was my partner in my class in the fall. And then also thank you to the Vice Chancellor of Calabar who helped support some of this. So thank you.
Thank you so much. The Vice Chancellor of the University of Calabar, who is the equivalent of the president here, has done a lot to support this program. So she came here last year, and she came to DePaul University, and then we met with the GLE team here at DePaul University. So she has been very, very supportive. So we are very appreciative of our effort. And to everyone, we are very grateful. We want to thank you for your active participation. And for students from University of Calabar, please send your name to Dr. Raphael Offiong, and then he will forward the names to us here, and then we will use those names to create a your certificates. So for the Paul students, please, I know that some of you have already completed the final exam. Any group that has not finished that should finish as soon as possible and turn that in. And then we have all enjoyed working with everyone. And we look forward to finishing this program out at the University of Calabar in July. So for now, have a great day, have a great summer break, and put what you have learned in this class to good use in the future. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Hey, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Professor, our final for DePaul students is due today or Friday?
It's due on Friday. You can turn it in between today.
Thank you,
and
Prof.
Friday.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Awesome. I also have a question.
Yes.
So
Thank you, sir.
these meetings are recorded, right?
Yes, they are recorded. Yes.
Do you know where we could find those recordings? Because I don't see anything on D2L or the GLE
So we
website.
will send that to everyone later.
What do you mean?
I mean, we will forward the recording to everyone afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think they've been put up on the Google landing page, but I'll get them up today.
Oh, okay. And we are talking about the Zoom recordings, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
The all of the interviews and the personal climate stories are up. You just need to click on the links for in week 4, I think 4 and 5. It's a little bit small, but it does say like click on the link here. But I'll get the recordings up today.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ben.
Yep, that's good.
All right, thank you, Professor.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you, Prof.
All right, you
Thank
too,
you.
Prof.
Thank you. Have a nice day, Mercy.
Okay, bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, sir.
Bye-bye.
Hey, yo.
Dr. Fion, can you stay on if you have not gone already? So.
He was on just a second ago.
Oh, is he gone?
It's hard for me to see since I'm driving, but
Okay. I think he has gone. Eme, can you stay on then? Eme, can you stay on? Maggie, can you keep staying on?
me?
Yes. I wanted
Yeah,
to
I'll
make
stay
a
on.
little bit, yes. Let me make sure that it's only just us.
There's 6 people.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Okay. Okay, so I wanted to find out what has been done, whether things are beginning to be in place for July, because we agreed that the Film Festival will be on July 28th at the University of Calabar. So, Eme, have you discussed anything about that?
Okay, good evening, Prof. That's my meetings are held with Professor Raphael, and he communicates with the university community. So he was in a meeting with the Vice Chancellor yesterday.
Okay.
Concerning it. So yes.
Okay.
So I do.
So what you can do now is to see if an agenda has been created, because I will be gone myself for.
I did, and I sent the mail.
You sent the agenda to us?
Yes, I sent it to you. Copied Dr. Maggie and Professor Raphael.
So when was that? Today?
Yes, this morning.
Okay, so I'll look at that. And then make sure to coordinate the names that are sent to Dr. Offiong so that we can create the certificates soon before everything goes into the summer mode. Here things get really slow. So I would like to forward those names to DePaul University next week so that they can create all the certificates, and then I can have them with me. And just so that when I get there in July, then we can hand them out to the students, okay?
Oh, okay, sir.
And another thing is the agenda, though I haven't seen yet what is being planned. We should find a time to meet again. Maybe I should be back in the Chicago area around the 16th, 17th of this month. So before the 30th of June, so we should try and meet so we can go over the agenda and then understand exactly what is being done, and then so that we know how to prepare ourselves before we come to Calabar. So
okay, I was hoping that maybe this morning everyone must have seen the agenda, so we could have a meeting.
No, we didn't see the agenda because I don't know whether
meeting this evening.
Yeah, I didn't check my email, so I don't know. Maggie, are you free tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, Eme, are you able to meet tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, so let's plan to meet tomorrow morning here. That will be around, let me see, tomorrow is, okay, that will be around 3 o'clock your time. Let's meet around 3 o'clock your time tomorrow to go over the agenda.
Okay.
And
What time is that for us?
9 o'clock. Is that a good time for you?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so we meet at around that time tomorrow. So I'll send out a link so that we can all meet around that time tomorrow and go over the agenda and then go over the remaining things so that we know that everything is in place. We just begin to work towards what we have on that agenda. Okay?
Okay, bro.
Okay.
One thing that I would like to work on or have be part of the film festival is, I know a lot of the students had groups like what were some of the clubs that they had, Isadora? The one group had The Boy Talked With You.
You mean environmental clubs? Not that one.
Yeah, environmental clubs. Yeah, environmental clubs. I think it would be nice if some of these student groups or some of the things that the students are doing could be featured. So maybe if we could have like an area, maybe that upstairs area where students could, I don't know, maybe we can make a posters or something that they can talk about what they're doing to showcase to the community, the efforts that the students are making.
Okay.
So maybe just kind of plant the seeds in some of the students' heads and incorporate it somewhere into, it doesn't have to be a formal part of the day of events, but an area where the students could, show off what they're doing.
Okay, maybe we can talk more about that tomorrow. Maggie,
I know, but
okay.
I wanted her to kind of think about it,
Okay.
during the day.
Okay.
Tomorrow,
Okay.
think about it, and then we'll talk about it. But I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
And then
it's a good one.
And then other things we can sort of use today to brainstorm, think about other things that might also help. Yes, so let's meet tomorrow at 3 o'clock Nigerian time and 9 o'clock our time here, and then just finish out that process, the planning process. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you, Maggie. So we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank
Okay,
you, sir.
see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Dr. Maggie.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.